Fantastic day. If you can hear me okay, let me know by hitting one of the pop something in the chat. Let me know who's out there and let me know what's going on. It would be super helpful for my purposes. Super duper helpful for my purposes. By the way, before we get going here, I just want to let you know that Oak Tree is a sponsor of ours, and they're the coolest non-QM company going right now. When it comes to the Dscr program, guys, Oak Tree has been doing this program longer than basically anybody out there. The Dscr program is absolutely fantastic. It's an investment property. It usually goes from 1 to 4 units, but with Oak Tree, you can actually go up to 8 units. 8 units is really kind of cool. It goes up to 85% loan to value. And here's what you need to understand about a Dscr program. It's an investment property. Now, if the rents are 75% of the mortgage payment, they qualify. Like, that is a qualifiable loan. There's no income documentation on this. If they own 50 other properties as investment properties, you don't have to get tax returns and figure out, get lease agreements and rent surveys on all those. You're only working with the one property at hand. Here's a cool thing to do, at least what I would do if I was a loan officer, is I would get the Dscr program, okay? Seriously, I would jump on the Dscr program, okay? Now, it's an investment property, but if you have your mortgage payment is, if your rents are 75% or more of your mortgage payment, they're going to qualify. 85% loan to value on these. They have an interest-only option on it. It's a 40-year loan, so the payments are low. The rates are super competitive. Here's what I would do. Just understand this as a loan officer or a real estate agent. Single family residents are moving super fast. They still are moving super fast. They're not moving as fast as they were, and we're going to talk about that today, but they're still moving super fast. Here's what's not moving super fast. Multi-unit properties. This is great for investors here. So you find something with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 units. Most of the Dscr programs go up to 4 units. They'll go up to 8 units on these things. Super competitive rates. The great thing is, like, if you have a 6-plex, they always pencil. They always pencil. So if you have a 6-plex and all 6 units are rented out, I guarantee you it's going to be like 200% of what the payment is. And all you have to be is 75% of what the payment is. All those 4-plexes and 6-plexes and 8-plexes, they're like 200%. So here's how, when you get a deal, here's how a deal basically goes from a loan officer's perspective. Like, let's just, you have a real estate agent who refers somebody over to you. You get that person qualified. They then find a house. Or they find a house and then they come to you to get qualified and you see if you can go ahead and get them approved. And then you, as a loan officer, are out searching for the right loan program, or you're searching for conditions to get that loan funded. But your job is the loan, right? That's basically the last step in a transaction, is a loan officer going out there and securing the money to finance that property. With the Dscr program, we're going to put this thing like ass over tea kettle here. Here's what you do as a loan officer. Go get yourself a real estate agent and say, hey, I want you to go into the MLS. I want you to find all 2 to 8 unit properties that you can find in your MLS. And frankly, if your real estate agent has access to more than one MLS, like so for where we are, we're in Barry's, it's a Bay Area thing. But within really working distance from where I'm at, there's probably 5 multiple listing systems between San Francisco and Sacramento. If your agents have access to more than one multiple listing system, I'd do it. I would go to a real estate agent. I'd say, hey, do me a favor. Go find everything from 2 to 8 units. Find out what the rents are on these things and tell me what the asking price is. See, because then you can take the asking price and you can put 15 to 20% down and say, okay, the 20% down, $1.2 million. I got a $6,000 house payment on that 6-plex. Well, each one of those places are renting out for $1,500, which means it's bringing in $9,000. That's a done deal. No tax returns, no income verification, no asset verification, nothing. It's all on the property. So guys, seriously, you want to check out the Dscr program with Oak Tree. These guys are fantastic with it. you can go ahead and then, you get these properties. And then what you're doing is you're looking for the investor. You're searching to secure an investor. You're not searching to secure a property, and you're not searching to secure a loan. You're searching to secure an investor. And there are a lot of investors in the United States housing market right now. This thing pencils. This thing is easy to do anywhere in the country. Guys, you have to check it out. It's super, super cool. If you'd like to contact these guys over at Oaktree, feel free to go ahead and do so. The number's right there. It's 800-968-5773. And you can speak with any one of their account reps, and they'd be more than happy to help you out. So that's pretty cool stuff. Hey, somebody chatted. Let me know what's going on. I can see that you guys are out there right now. I just want to see exactly who's out there, and that kind of just helps me out. Okay, so let's kind of start going through some stuff here. Now, as you know, property values, as you know, our market is a little bit slower than it was in years past, isn't it? And we know this to be factually true. And right now we have a breakdown from the National Association of Realtors. And as you can see right now, oddly, the area that was hit the least is going to be the Northeast. That's going to be, up there, Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, those areas, Vermont. And they went down 0.1%. The South went down 0.7%. The West went down 2.2%, which is interesting because you always think of Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona as hot markets. They're down 2.2% from being screaming hot. And you can see over there in the Midwest that our existing home sales are down 6.3%. So the numbers aren't absolutely massive, and they're not absolutely catastrophic, but it is something for a loan officer and a real estate agent to really take into consideration when they're looking at their business and what they're trying to accomplish. Keep in mind, as I said before, rate and term refinances, dead in the water, getting worse as rates are going up. And as I said, the Fed still has 3 more bumps that they're going to do before year's end. We're going to be sitting north of 4%. As we sit here today, there's only 16% of people who have agency-conforming loans that have a rate that would make sense to refinance at an interest rate of 3.75%. When rates get to 4%, nobody's going to refinance. But even at 16% of people who could still refi, there are 16% of people who are not going to refinance. So rate and term refinances are dead in the water. Okay, but it doesn't mean refinances are dead in the water. It means we got to start looking at cash out and debt consolidation refinances. That's where the real value exists. Same thing with the purchase market. We just have to understand where to go. The purchase market, yeah, it slowed down. It slowed all across the country. What I just showed you just a couple of moments ago. It's slowed down all across the country, but it hasn't slowed down that much. It's probably going to slow down more. And what we have to understand is there is exactly enough inventory out there right now. Just exactly enough. It's not an inventory issue. It's a demand issue. We have too much demand for the inventory. We need our supply and our demand to be harmonious. And right now that simply isn't the case. So we have to start looking like, well, what can we do then to make ourselves and our clients stand out? How can I then, as a loan officer and a real estate agent, go out there and secure one of these properties for one of my clients when I'm up against 5 or 6 different offers? And again, there's a couple of different things that we can do. Cash offers are what you want, and we've talked about your ability to go ahead and make everything a non-contingent cash offer, and we can help you with that over here. But the other thing is really just understanding the whole suite of services, all the tools in your toolbox that you have right now as a loan officer that are available to you. I'm talking non-QM. So even though our purchase market is going down, our non-QM, that segment, even though it's small, is going up. Even though refinances are going down, a very small segment, but a significant segment with our cash out refinances are going up. So if I was a loan officer, what I would do is I would do what everybody else isn't doing, and I would go to the areas that I know that there's still strength in the mortgage market. I would look and try to create a niche for myself with non-QM products for self-employed people, because that is an area that is still going up. And I would also I would have a niche for cash out refinances. These are the 2 areas I would focus on. Get rid of the rate and term refinances and get rid of the meat and potato Fannie. Don't get rid of them, but I mean, stop focusing on Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie loans, because that's what all your competition is doing. Here's the reason your competition is doing it. It's because they don't know what else to do. I mean, there is a whole generation of loan officers who have never written a loan that has a manual underwrite. A manual underwrite? What the? a manual underwrite, because a lot of non-QM deals, those are underwriters actually get to make decisions on a lot of non-QM stuff. Again, it's a growing part of the market, so it's something that I would consider if I was a loan officer. Now, this is actually pretty interesting right here. Another way that you could start to look at improving your business is listen, I know a lot of loan officers right now are licensed in multiple states, more so now than ever, okay? And that's a great thing. And what I've learned from what I've seen, based on the numbers in Solano County where I live, 70% of the loans that are written in Solano County are not written by Solano County loan officers. And we have a very, very strong mortgage presence in Solano County. I know all the loan officers out here, great LOs. And it was really shocking that about 70% of all deals still went with out-of-area loan officers. And that tells me that if you're licensed in multiple states, you could certainly go ahead and carve out a living, even a purchase living, if you're attentive to your real estate agent's needs, especially because people just aren't meeting face-to-face as much as they used to. So if that is the case, then what you're going to want to do is go to areas where you have a high probability of finding clients and actually getting their deals accepted. So the states with the strongest job growth, and that's a huge factor, obviously. It's good to have a job if you're going to try to get a mortgage, especially when even our non-QM have ATR in place. That would be the ability to repay. Now look at this. Now Washington makes sense. Idaho makes sense. A lot of people are moving out there. But Missouri, no one's moving to Missouri. Michigan, no one's moving there. New Jersey, really? Are you kidding me? New York's such a pain in the ass to work with. Massachusetts, kind of the same thing as New York, not nearly as bad. Maryland's good, New Hampshire's good. But the ones that really stand out to me right now is New Jersey. Look at that. New Jersey has the strongest job growth of any state in the country right now at 3.6%. If you are licensed in New Jersey, I think and especially if you are an acute, savvy online marketer, you can make remarkable headway in New Jersey. I think the same is true to a lesser extent, Michigan. I only say that out of a certain level of biasness because I know there's a bunch of great loan officers in Michigan. A lot of the companies that you guys work with have headquarters or a strong presence in Michigan, so there's going to be a lot of great loan officers there. But New Jersey stands out at me. New Hampshire absolutely stands out at me. That's an easy one to do. And then the other one would be Iowa. I mean, how many people who's thinking Iowa these days? So if you're licensed in New Jersey, New Hampshire, or Iowa, I think those would all be great states for you to go look at right now as a means of really trying to capture business if you're looking for business outside of your state. Now, of course, the big thing that I'm thinking is like, why are we looking for business outside of our state unless you've absolutely maxed out every opportunity that you have in front of you? I don't know why I would necessarily go ahead and do that. I would work on my state, make sure that I've pretty much wrung the neck of that sucker before I started looking at other states. But I understand maybe there's greener pastures outside of where you're at, and give it a shot. So I was just down in Pasadena, California over the weekend at a speaking gig with the Career Compass. And Pasadena it's where they hold the Rose Parade, in case you didn't know. Super clean city. I haven't been down there in years. But I was kind of tripped out. I mean, Pasadena was pretty cool, actually. Kind of laid back, kind of mellow, down there by Burbank. It's pretty cool. Oh, and by the way, I think I will be going back down to Los Angeles this weekend for the 49er Rams game. So I think I'm going to go to that game down in LA. So if anybody who's watching this right now wants to hook up with me and my ops manager, who is a football player from USC, hook up with us down there in Southern California. Just send me an instant message and we'll reach back out to you. But I think we're going down there. I think we're gonna go watch this game. Anyways, I was down there talking about real estate in the state of California, and I was talking about real estate nationally as well. But the state of California, I found some things that I thought were pretty shocking, and I want to share them with you because I think you're going to find these equally as shocking. Now, understand this. If you're a real estate agent or if you're a loan officer and you feel like you're not necessarily getting like that agents all of their business, understand right now agents, they're dying. They're absolutely dying. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. So right now in the state of California, for the year ending 2020, there were 439,200 annual home sales in California. Okay? That's a big number, right? 439,200 home sales for the year ending 2020. So we can accept that as being a fact, can't we? But what we also know is that our inventory, this is on a national level, hold on. But, that's on a national level. Oh, that's, no, that was California, wasn't it? Nope. Okay, hang tight. Still new, trying to figure out, like, what this whole thing, is looking like. Okay. We also know, okay. I also know that there's 299,000 real estate agents in the state of California. So we have 400, what was our numbers? We had 439,200 listings sell in California in 2020. Okay? That's what we had. And we have 299,000 real estate agents. So that means in the entire state of California, that comes out to 1.46 listings per year per agent. Or another way to put it, that means each agent has 0.121 of one listing per month. And the thing to think about this that's really kind of a trip is that you've got agents who've got 50 listings a year, 100 listings a year. So this tells me that, like, saying, well, you have an average of 1.46 listings per agent per year in the state of California, that number is high because the professional agents out there are screwing up the curve on this thing. They absolutely are. And I'll tell you what I think, what it tells me is it tells me that what we need to be doing here is we need to be really focusing on making it more difficult for people to get their real estate license. Oh, it's very similar for loan officers too. You know, especially when we come off these banner years, you know, everybody goes and gets their mortgage license, their MLS license, and they're, you know, they're going down the road. But when things get hard, you have to have the true professionals. As I said when I started this whole live up today, you know, there's a lot of loan officers who don't know what a manual underwrite is. There's a lot of loan officers out there who have never written loans that aren't the meat and potato Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie type of agency loans. They don't understand that a full professional, full-time loan officer is going to have to understand all the nuanced products that have been available, always been available in the mortgage space, were taken away after the 2008 meltdown in Dodd-Frank, but are now starting to find their way, a reemergence into the mortgage space through non-QM. And as we go forward, we're going to see more and more products come on board. They will not be the subprime loans of years past because everything comes with the ability to repay. So there will be no pure stated income deals. A stated income deal is only as good as your ability to repay. And if you're approving an ATR, that means you probably have some type of alt doc on that. But that's kind of something to consider here. Now, here's the thing. When we start looking at inventory in the States, there's a concern that our inventory levels are down. But we have 1.46 million listings in 2020 versus where we were in 2012 with just 1 million. Isn't it interesting to see that the number of listings that we have are actually higher than what people think? And everyone's talking about how it's so incredibly difficult right now because of our lack of inventory, when in truth, our inventory levels are higher now than they've been in quite some time. Here's another way of looking at it. Total existing home sales. Now, this is your annual rate. Those were what we were just looking at was what was on in a month over. This is what we're looking at annualized. Check out our inventory. Now, if we go right down there where you see the 4.01 million, and that's after April 2020 or before June 2020, that right there, that little dip, that massive dip, that was the COVID lockdown. That's when Open Door, OfferPad, and Zillow and all them, they broke all their contracts because they didn't know what was going to happen when we were all sitting in our house. That was back in the time, like when you went downtown, you felt like you were in an episode of The Walking Dead, like everything was abandoned, you know, tumbleweeds were going down the middle of the road all but. That's what it was like here. I was the only person in downtown Vacaville. I was literally the only person in downtown Vacaville who was working down here, and I used to walk with my dog Charlie, and it was crazy for like months. Nobody was down here. But that little dip that you're looking at, that 4.01 million, that was the COVID. That was a hard COVID lockdown. Then you can see as your eyes continue scanning to the right, when we came out of the COVID lockdown, what did we do? It was kind of like one of those slingshots, you know, where you just pull it back, you know, boom, and just let it go and things shoot up. That's what took place after the lockdown, and we got up, our numbers went as high as 6.730 million. And now as we sit here today, And you'll see this is December 2021, which is as close as we're going to get because January's not finished yet. We're sitting at 6.180 million. But as our eyes scan across for existing home sales, and these are all on an annualized rate, this goes back to December of 2017, or about four and a half years, 5 years, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 4 years. So if you're looking at this, again, our annual or total existing home sales right now are more or less higher than they've ever been, with the exception of when we came out of COVID. So when we start to look at and say, hey, we simply don't have the inventory. We do, in fact, have the inventory. That's not the problem. We have out of control demand. Now, what we also know, and what you guys are hearing over there, is we're going to start to see this slow down a little bit. It's going to slow down because we're going to see interest rates continue to rise. I think our Freddie Mac 30-year fixed rate average as we sit here today is at 4.53%. And that number is actually a tad lower than what it was late last week. But everybody's in agreement on this that it's going to continue to rise as we go forward. Yeah, so our Freddie Mac 30-year fixed rate average right now is at 3.56% at 0.7 point. And so if you're a mortgage loan officer and you're selling rates that are lower than 3.56, you're better than the market average. If you're selling higher, you're a little out of the market. Real estate agents, don't think a whole bunch about this shit. Every mortgage company in the country will be in the market and out of the market on any given day. It's really up to your loan officer to be astute and understand when to lock their loans. We have to look at overall trends. Our overall trend is our rates are going to continue going up. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting here at like 3.05%, so we're up almost a half a point. And remember this is wildly important, that a 0.5% raise in interest rates is going to reduce your purchasing power by about 5%. So if rates go up a point, you're down 10%. If rates go down up 2 points, you're down 20%. Imagine if we go from our low of 2.75 and we get to 4.75. That means your average buyer, when rates were lower just a half a year ago, are going to be able to purchase about 20% less house than they currently can. Imagine taking everybody who's in the market to buy a house and say, okay, 20% less. What would that do to home prices in this country? And frankly, it would make them cheaper and thus slightly more affordable for everybody. And I think we're probably going to be going down that road. Just to finish out this thought here, your 15-year fixed rate mortgage, the average, Freddie Mac average on your 15-year fixed rate mortgage is 2.79%. That's at 0.6 point. And the 5/1 ARM is at 2.6%, and that's at 0.3 fee, which is interesting how they determine that. Like, why would they do 0.3 fee on the 5/1 ARM, and why would they do 0.7 on the 30-year fixed? What that tells me, if you add 50 basis points to get you you add 40 basis points on a 5/1 ARM, you could probably, for the same cost, comparing apples to apples, you could probably do a 5/1 ARM at I would say 2 3/8 rate. Now, that's another great point that we're not enough loan officers and real estate agents talk about. Are you looking at a 5/1 ARM? Are you looking at a 7/1 ARM? By the way, if you were to look at a fully fully indexed rate on a 5/1 ARM right now with a 2 1/4 margin, you would be looking at a rate of, let me see, I'll tell you right now. 1 year. Okay. So your 1 year T-bill is currently sitting at 0.58%. Oh, now, I know this is kind of boring, but just stick with me because this is actually really important. 0.58% plus 2.25. Okay. Okay, so let's say that you had somebody on a 5/1 ARM. Okay, well, I don't want to put somebody on a 5/1 ARM. Well, chances are they're not going to be in their loan in 5 years. We know this to be factually accurate. 75% of people aren't going to be, they might be in the house. They're probably not going to be in their loan in 5 years. We know this to be true. A 7/1 ARM is even a little bit more safe. But now, if you're selling a rate at 3.5% on a 30-year fixed rate loan right now, 3.56, say you're at 3 5/8 on a 30-year fixed rate loan, why not go to 2.5 on a 5/1 ARM? Probably close to 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 on a 7/1 ARM. Well, I don't want to put my clients in a 5/1 or a 7/1 ARM. Okay, well, hold on a second here. Let's figure out how these things work. You have your index and you have your margin. Now, your index is a number that fluctuates and goes up and down. Bloop, bloop, bloop. That's why when you go after your 5-year or your 7-year period and you move over into that adjustable, you're going to move over into an index. It's probably the 1-year T-bill. That's how most of these are. And then you're going to have a margin. And you can pick and choose your margin. So you pick a margin at 2.25%. And what you do is you add your fixed margin. That 2.25% never changes on your 5/1 or 7/1 ARM, 2.25%. And then you add your fluctuating 1-year T-bill index. So your margin plus your index is going to be your fully indexed rate. That rate goes to 2.83%. That's what it goes to. So that right now would be the fully indexed rate. If you were on a 5/1 ARM 5 years ago, that's what your rate would be right now. And there's nothing to say that your rate can't go down, because all you're doing is following whatever the hell the T-bill is doing and adding 2.25% to that. So this is a super, super safe loan. The other thing is, in case you guys don't know this, and I don't know if you do or not, but the reason they call it a 5/1 ARM, it's fixed for 5 years, and it can only adjust a maximum of 1% per year. Meaning, if you go in there in year 6, and all of a sudden the 1-year T-bill goes up to 7%, now you have to add 2.25 to 7%, so you're at 9.25% as your fully indexed rate. You don't get that rate because you're starting at a 2 5/8. The maximum you could go up to the following year, the maximum is 3.58, because they have a 1% annual cap. That's why it's called a 5/1 or a 7/1 ARM. If they have a 2 cap, it'd be called a 5/2 ARM or a 7/2 ARM, but it's called a 5/1 ARM. So when I'm looking at Freddie Mac's 5/1 ARM right now at 2.6% at 0.3 of 1 point, if you went a full point on that thing to buy that rate down, shit, you'd be at 2.25. Now, how would you like to have a 2.25 rate right now? And seriously, think about this. If you're a loan officer right now, think about this. Get out of the box. Get out of your comfort zone. Start doing shit other people aren't doing. Like, that's what you need to do. There's a whole generation of people who don't understand manual underwrites. They don't understand how ARMs work. They don't understand the nuance of all the non-QM deals that are coming out. Like, master this shit and just run with it. Everybody right now is going to be selling rates at 3 7/8, 3 3/4. And half of these guys are rate conscious, and these guys and gals, these loan officers, are going to be rate conscious. Well, I need to sell the lowest rate. Well, all right, so you mean nothing to the transaction. You bring nothing to the table. It's all about the rate that you offer. That's it. The only thing that matters is rate. Well, that's bullshit, okay? It's understanding products and processes too. So you could be somebody who's stuck in a cog. You know, you are the square peg constantly trying to find the square, the square hole, not understanding that there's more nuance that's involved in this, and trying to sell that 3 1/4 rate. Meanwhile, the guy down the street saying, shit, I don't know. Why don't we go 2.5? Well, how can he go 2.5? Well, he can't go 2.5. Well, he's selling ARMs. You don't want an ARM. Really? Do you understand how these ARMs work? Do you get it? It's even, I was talking with Chris Martin over at Oaktree, which, by the way, my good friends over at Oaktree understand the Dscr program is absolutely fantastic. You guys should totally be looking at that. And then what you also need to... Oh, are these all DSCR? Well, you get the idea. I'm just trying to figure out how to edit this thing on the fly. But no, when I was talking with Chris Martin, we were talking about the fact that they have interest only for 10 years on their 40-year loans. And he's like, a lot of people don't want the interest only because there's a negative connotation that goes along with it. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Interest only loans are killer. It's a 40-year loan where it's interest only for the first 10 years. 10 years. What are the chances they're going to be in there in 10 years? Here's the cool part about it, and I like how the amortization works better on an interest only, or how the interest works on an interest only loan, rather than your typical amortization schedule. this is your first 5 or 6 years. If you've ever looked at a full amortization schedule, like you aren't paying shit down in the first few years. If you put down an extra $100 every time you had a payment starting at the very beginning, you would like knock so many years off your loan. It's crazy because everything is, interest is front loaded on your typical amortization schedule. The cool thing about an interest only loan is you go in there with an interest rate of 4%. It's interest only, so you can pay your interest. But if you choose to pay down your principal on any given month, okay, so my interest is $1,500. I'm going to put an extra $1,000 towards my principal. Your loan, then $1,000 comes off your principal, and then that loan will recast that month. So your next month, you have a different and lower amount of interest that needs to be paid because you paid it down. That loan recasts and becomes a brand new loan every month for 10 years. For 120 months, you have 120 different loans. You put down $50, it recasts. Here's the cool thing, and guys, understand this, especially like with self-employed people. Like you have a self-employed person, they might have like some meager months, where shit's really tight. And it's like, oh God, it's hard to make the interest payment on that. But then for self-employed people, we know how this goes. It's feast and famine. And so they might have like a great quarter, like a quarterly bonus, or they might land a big account and like they're flush with cash. And then at that point they say, okay, I want to throw $10,000 down on my principal. And they can do that and it will recast. And now the next month their interest payment is going to be significantly lower. So it's simple interest on a 10-year fixed rate interest only loan on a 40-year loan, 120 months where you can do that. Pay the whole damn thing off if you want to. Then after that, it just goes to a 30-year fixed rate loan with a rate of 4%. I mean, give me a break. That's a killer deal. So understanding all the different products that are available to a loan officer and a real estate agent are wildly important right now. Wildly important. By the way, if you want to call those guys over at Oaktree, give them a call. Oaktree Funding, just give those guys a call. Talk to one of their account reps. They'll run through all their different programs with you and how everything works. But we really have to have more arrows in the quiver, don't we? We have to have more tools in the toolbox. And this is what real estate agents or your astute real estate agents are going to, the ones who are getting more than 0.121 side of one transaction per month. Your real estate agents right now, the astute ones, are going to start looking for loan officers who are going to help their clients in a much more three-dimensional way than they've done in years past because the products are now available. You would be well served as a loan officer to get in front of these things and start talking about them today. I mean, seriously, this would be a great time for a loan officer to get online and go just tag every local real estate agent. Just tag them all. I want to talk today about adjustable rate mortgages and why this is a benefit to your clients. Let's talk about a 5/7 and 10/1 ARM. Let's talk about why interest only is a great thing. This is what we do over here. We tailor the loan to the client's needs. We don't make the client bend to the loan. We make the loan bend to the client.
Custom.
That's what we do here. Yeah, custom this stuff up. And there's enough stuff out there, especially for self-employed people. Kian, I don't know if I told you this, but I was looking at it's like, all right, well, your average, I think it's like your average, what was it? I'm going to screw the numbers up, but not so bad you won't get the idea. Your average citizen makes $35,000 a year.
Right.
Your average house is going for $380,000 a year.
Right, priced out.
Priced out. You're not buying shit. So if your average client can't buy your average house, what do you need to do?
You need more clients and marry them together.
You need to find a not average client.
Right.
Right?
Self-employed.
Yeah, like, okay, well, if average isn't cutting it, let's go find not average. How do you find a not average client? Self-employed. Did you know your average self-employed person makes almost $70,000 a year? That's twice as much money, and now we're cooking with hot bacon grease, baby. You know what I mean? So, and there's a million different ways. And how do we find? All right, then let's keep backing. How do we find that self-employed person? You covet what you know. Go to your neighborhood. In my little downtown Vacaville, this area where I live right now, there's no less than 200 businesses down here. And they are all, if they don't have a chain name on the front of it, it's probably a mom and pop, and that would be a good place to start. Mom and pop places usually got a little extra cash, make a little bit more money, complicated tax returns. That's why they make great bank statement loans. I mean, we have to understand these things. So, anyways, this is kind of what I wanted to chat with you guys today. I will get this dialed in a little bit more tightly as we're going forward. I don't understand this. We'll get this dialed in a little bit more tight as I go forward. Let me see what I missed here. Okay. Yeah, I think we got enough in today. All right. Hey, listen, guys, totally appreciate you. Thanks for jumping on. Sharing is caring. Hit the share button if you'd like to. And we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll bring you some great information to help you guys out.